Welcome one and all to the show. I'm over it now, as much as I'm going to get for the way this season ended. So I'm wired up and I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. BlueTruth, New York Rangers Talk with Brian Attard, powered by the Sportsbox Network. If you're watching live on Facebook, give us a like and a follow. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Thank you to those who have joined the live stream tonight. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, that's great. Thank you for that as well. But if you want to check out the live stream, it does stream live on Facebook and Twitter. So maybe you'll join the live stream one of these nights. Today is Wednesday, June the 14th. It's a very special date on the calendar for this franchise and this fan base. This is episode 33 of BlueTruth. We've been chugging along here. I see some comments coming in. There's Ben Martinez. Let's go Rangers. Michael Faris. Hey, Brian, let's go Rangers. Yes, sir. Ryan Forbes. Sir, how are you? Got a lot to talk about tonight. And we will kick it off and drop the puck tonight by turning back the clock. 29 years ago today, the blessed event. A very warm Tuesday night in June of 1994, when the New York Rangers finally exorcised the demons of 1940 and brought home the first Stanley Cup for this franchise in 54 years. As a young Gary Bettman said, well, New York, after 54 years, your long wait is over. As for yours truly, I was 10 when the blessed event happened. And had you told me that I'd be pushing 40 and still be waiting to see it again, I'd have said, you're crazy, but here we are. You know, it's a strange perspective when you think of how long ago things happened when you were alive to see and experience them. You know, back in 1994, anybody who was probably my current age of 39 thought that 1940 was literally a lifetime ago. And we're here today, 25 years short or away from when it'll be 54 years ago. And it's wild to think that. Like, yes, it was 29 years ago, but it doesn't feel like 29 years ago to people that saw it and lived it. I say that as a 39-year-old man who was a fourth grader at the time. So I guess the question that I wanted to pose to you all and share my opinion on is, you know, is 1994 becoming the new 1940? Are we coming upon a time where the 1994 chants that we once held so dear, that Adam Graves started, you know, that night, we're so proud of them, is that going to become a taunt the way 1940 became? I don't know. I don't think that we're at this point where it's so long ago that it's tauntable. You know, the curse, if any team has one current day, would be Toronto, having gone longer than 54 years the way the Rangers did, now having won now since 1967. And it's not like our chief rivals have had it much better than we have, right? You know, I don't think that Islander fans are going to start taunting 1994 when they haven't won since 1983, and I wasn't around in 1983. It's, you know, it's actually a really, and we mentioned at the time, just a huge relief. Just a huge, huge relief that the Islanders did not get a cup during those COVID years. And I love replaying this ending from when the Islanders lost to Tampa Bay, because that was the end of their period of relevancy. They are back down to being the irrelevant schmucks and scum that they are. And when they go to places like Borelli's and they get all upset about it, especially Frankie from Barstool, that scum idiot. Anyway, it's just, it's a relief that they didn't get one, because we would never hear the end of it, right? And when you look at the Flyers, well, you know, they're a ways away from being a ways away, so I'm not really too concerned there. The Devils, well, let's be real, they're a good team. They're only going to get better. They have stars now, more potential stars on the way. That's a problem. But I don't think that we're quite there where 1994 is going to become 1940. I still think that we look back on it as fondly as ever, even if the memories start to get a little fuzzy. Time will do that. But I ask you all, I want to hear some thoughts about this. Is 1994 still a memory that you cherish the way you always have, or is it, as the years have gone by, now it's too far in the past? Is it something that we as Ranger fans, that listen, obviously it's the only thing that we have to hold on to, but is it one of those things where now it's so far long ago that we're becoming the people that, Islander fans with 83 and Flyers fans 75, and it's like you think back to when you actually won, but it's so long ago. Not that it's a caricature or anything like that, but just, the idea that it's so long ago. Jonathan Riggs, this one will last a lifetime. Yeah, we really took Sam seriously and literally. Not good. Not good. Kind of Gary Bettman is a clown. That's an evergreen comment by you, my friend. Mike Freese, I was 27. My buddy Pat Hoffman says Toronto. Yes, correct. They're the ones right now that everybody hates Toronto anyway. So, we always enjoy their misery for sure. Ryan Forbes was 21. Jonathan Rings, I was a freshman in high school. Remember it like it was yesterday. It's funny. I was 10, like I said, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And I get crap from people. Oh, you don't remember that. You just think you remember that. I'm like, were you like a special kid when you were 10? Like you don't have any memory from when you were 10 years old? Because I do. I remember the tears in my dad's eyes. I remember what that was. And, and I always say, like, God forbid, I hope they obviously do, but it'll never be like 1994 again, right? So no matter what they do now, like 94 was its own just legendary story. And you think back to the moments again, the sweep of the Islanders that was dominant, the novels. Every game was a novella in the Devil series, the multiple overtime games, the way that it ended, the guarantee, everything about 94. Like it can't be recreated. So it's always going to be its own. I always say that if they ever did win again, it'd be the fourth greatest day of my life behind the birth of my son, my wedding, and 94. So even though I'm an adult now and I can probably enjoy it a lot more, I think 94 will always have its place. Mark Scotty, Flyers fan. Well, you got your own problems. We'll get cherish fondly. Michael, still cherished, but need another. 29 years too long. Patrick, it's a memory I will always cherish. I was 11 years old. My dad, my sister, and I went to Colin Campbell's house and spent an hour with it. That is an awesome story. Patrick, I've seen pictures, and that is so cool. That is so cool. God bless your dad. I miss your dad. I miss talking hockey with your dad more than I could probably tell you. God bless him. Anthony, Rangers need a North-South game. Need to trade some Euro trash for North American grit. We'll get to some of that in the roster setup. Jonathan Riggs, cherished forever, but it is getting annoying how often it's the only thing that we can celebrate. Yes, I think that's probably where we are. That it's always going to be here and here, but it is now losing a little of its luster just with time, with like any good piece of silver or china or whatever. So, my buddy Mark Brown, it was far enough where I can't laugh at other fans about their team, even if it's the Leafs, and feel good about myself. Well, I still laugh. I mean, I have a Flyers jersey that says losers since 75. And part of this conversation came because, like, I'm being told, oh, I'm going to get a Ranger jersey that says losers since 1994. I'm like, okay. I mean, the funny part about 75 is we weren't alive in 75, at least myself and my age group. So name one change that guarantees a cup within the last 29 years. Go. I mean, look, they had a window, Kevin, at the start of the teens, 12, 13, 14. I don't think they did enough. And I think that, Hank kind of got him as far as he could get him by himself. I look back with regret on that time period. That's just how I look at it. While we're on the topic of the Stanley Cup, congratulations, I guess, to the Vegas Golden Knights and their long-suffering fan base who's waited a whole 6 years for their team to deliver the Stanley Cup to the tourists, I mean the residents of Las Vegas, Nevada. I think the annoying part about the Knights winning is not just that we've waited 29 years after waiting 54 years, and they get the one in the 6th year of existence, but also their top center, Jack Eichel, should have been a Ranger center 2 years ago. I don't want to hear a thing about the Sabres wouldn't trade Eichel to the Rangers because that is nothing more than either an urban legend or something that one of these nonsense analysts said on Twitter. There is no hard evidence of that, but even if there was always going to be a price that the Sabres would have taken from the Rangers, even if it was more than the Sabres wanted from Vegas. Everybody has a price for the $1 million man, as Ted DiBiase so nicely said back in the 80s and 90s for WWF/E. The Rangers should have found that price, and they should have gotten the center. Players like Jack Eichel do not grow on trees. It was a mistake in retrospect. I don't like to say I told you so, but I told you so because I was banging the table for Jack Eichel at that time. Thought it was a missed opportunity, and I still will. Also annoying, the Conn Smythe winner, Jonathan Marchessault, was at one point in the Ranger system, signed to the then Connecticut Whale, now again the Hartford Wolfpack. So they had him close by, and he went elsewhere and just got a ring and a Conn Smythe. Yeah, who needs that? While we're on the subject, former Ranger castoff Brett Howden has himself a ring. And 2014 Ranger killers, Jonathan Quick and Alec Martinez, they now have their third. So all around, not really ideal for the Rangers from a few standpoints, if you really want to nail it down and start talking about things that annoy me and probably annoy you. We'll talk a bit about the Rangers and, again, the roster construction, but Vegas didn't draft their way to a cup either. They've made 6 first-round picks in their history, and of those 6 first-round picks ever, none of them were on this roster. Picks and prospects like Peyton Krebs, Nick Suzuki, they were traded in huge deals for players like Mark Stone and Jack Eichel. And large cap hits like Matt Pacioretty and Marc-Andre Fleury, they got dumped off elsewhere when their usefulness to the team expired. They were very aggressive and they went for it. Kudos to them, I guess. Jonathan Riggs, Vegas fans didn't know to boo Bettman. Well, they had no. We're all new here. We don't know what to do with our hands, right? Brian Fogelstrom, history shows dating back to his AHL coaching days. We're going to get to Laviolette. That's coming up next, so nice job. He's due. It's destiny, okay? Savior, Joe Sakic would have given us a big chance for another cup if we signed with an offer sheet. That's true in 97, the 3-year, $21 million deal that Colorado matched. Joe Danzo, I was happy for Eichel getting out of Buffalo, winning the cup 2 years later. Yeah, I'd be happy if it was here, though. I know. Charlie Troy, poor management forever, always looked for the big splash of filling the holes in the lineup. Seems that fact never changes. Well, again, congratulations, I guess, to the Vegas Golden Knights. But we have some news, obviously. The Rangers officially did break news the other day that they have hired Peter Laviolette as the 37th head coach in franchise history. Laviolette has coached for 5 other NHL teams, many of which you've seen in our division. The Islanders, the Hurricanes, the Flyers, the Predators, and the Capitals. Stanley Cup in Carolina in 2006. He also took the Flyers and Predators to the Cup finals in 2010 and 2017, respectively. He has made the playoffs 13 times, was fired the other times in season, and missed 5 times, 3 of which were the non-Cup years in Carolina. So the reality of this to me is that Laviolette was pretty much always getting the job. Let me be really clear and say that, he was not my first choice. I was firmly in the Joel Quenneville camp. But the more that situation has dragged on, there was no guarantee that he would get the reinstatement to the league after what happened in Chicago, which I am not getting into, and I'm not legislating here. But if he does get reinstated, it's not going to be until after the draft and the start of free agency. And look, you got to have a head coach, right? If you start talking about making draft picks and signing contracts, people want to know who the head coach is. So they really were not in a spot that they could wait for this. They couldn't wait for Gary Bettman to get off his ass and make a decision. Laviolette's the guy. Quenneville was a pipe dream and ended up being just that. So if you take Quenneville off the table, in my opinion, Peter Laviolette was the absolute obvious pick here. And had John Hines not been fired by Nashville, and him and Drury had a relationship where they were teammates back in college, it probably would have been Laviolette officially hired a week or so ago. But if Drury is one thing, he is meticulous. He is methodical. He doesn't rush into anything. I don't doubt that he did his due diligence on John Hines and some other guys like Mike Babcock and so on. But Laviolette was the safe pick, and one that is not overly likely to blow up in Drury's face. Let's be fair. This is in all likelihood the last coaching hire Chris Drury will make as general manager of the New York Rangers. If this doesn't work, Laviolette will be gone, and Chris Drury will be right behind him. Comments coming in. John Radigan, there are teams in the AHL have more talent than the 1974 Washington Capitals had. I guess that's true. Tom O'Neill, Vegas fans looked relieved. Yeah, it's funny. I watched it again, and they're just standing there. Yeah, cool. I mean, I'd be beside myself. Tom, I've lived that moment in my head hundreds of times. I can tear up. I can literally make myself tear up imagining what it would be like for them to win. And I'm like, there's just not a lot of reaction, and I can't internalize that because I know what I would do. It would mean the world to me, and it would mean the world to many of you, and you'd probably, I don't know, pass out in excitement. I don't know, but the point is, you'd be a lot more reactive than the fans were at T-Mobile Arena the other night. That's all. And is that because this is not a generational fan base? Whatever. I'll tell you one thing. If that was in New York City, place is going wild. The Garden's going nuts. I mean, nobody's sitting down. Nobody's just standing there quiet. I just didn't like it. Kevin, he was the best of what was available. Patrick, he was the safe choice. Yes, I agree. Brandon Gazzara, who I know is a Flyers fan, not when the title is always a failure. Why do all the Flyers coaches and players get better when they leave? This is another example. Well, I mean, Philadelphia is its own market, and a lot of nepotism goes on there. If you're a Flyer once, you're a Flyer forever, good or bad. Although I will say the hires they made, both Keith Jones and Daniel Briere, who the Sports Box has had on as guests, those podcasts are available. I think they're good hires. I don't think that they're just the standard Bill Barbers of the world or Paul Holmgrens or whatever. Quenneville would have been a major distraction. I don't care. He would have been a perfect fit. A perfect fit for this team. But time-wise, was never going to happen. It is what it is. Again, if Q was not on the table, Lavi was the best option. I would agree with that. Which is why, again, I'm good with it. I'm not upset. I'm not angry. Which we'll get to some reaction because we've seen it. From the old school standpoint, do you think it was right they made? Yeah, I don't care. I don't worry about that, Tom. And I think too many people, get up in arms about that. The New York Rangers owe nothing to Vegas or Florida. They need to do business. So, it is what it is. PJ, it seems you went sideways with the hire. I get a lot of that, PJ, but I'm going to get into this in a bit. I don't think that it was sideways, and I will get into some detail why. 2010, John, if you switch Quenneville for Laviolette, do the Flyers win? In the 2017 final, switch Sullivan for Laviolette, do the Predators win? No for 2010 because Chicago was just better. And no in 2017 because Pittsburgh had those stars. The Flyers were very lucky to be there in 2010. I remember that very vividly because I live here, right? I live in Flyers country here in South Jersey. So I remember that, and thank God they lost. But no, I think the fact that Laviolette got a team with Michael Leighton in goal all the way to the Cup final, 2 wins short of a Cup, I think was actually really impressive, all things considered. And for the Predators, again, Pittsburgh was back-to-back champs at that point. I mean, that was just a machine. So no, I'm okay with that. Mark Brown, not my favorite choice, but I'm rooting for him. Hired gun, Cup or nothing. Yep. After 2 years of no Cup, he knows he's gone. That's why it's 4.9 a year, some kind of handshake deal. That's possible. We'll get into some of the time frames too, because there is an interesting, I guess, subplot to that. And I've seen people on social media really bang the table for the Rangers to go after like a first-time head coach, and maybe a head coach who has never coached at this level, and Chris Knobloch's name was brought up. And even guys who never coached at all, like Mark Messier, which we'll talk about. But, I never really thought that any of these guys were overly realistic options. Again, thank you all for watching. If you can give a like on the show, that would be awesome. It helps us break the Facebook algorithm. So I appreciate that. Thank you much. Hit a little like or a love. I love that too. Again, maybe Knobloch more than Messier, but I think people were preferring the unknown versus what they feel is not a fresh hire. I don't think this was ever going to be a fresh hire, meaning somebody who has no experience coaching at the NHL level. Think logically on this one, right, guys? So Drury could not afford to take on a massive risk with this hire for what is truly a veteran team. It is a veteran team. We have beat this point to death on this show, and I'm going to do it again right now. The top 3 forwards on this team are age 30, 31, and 32. This team will only go as far as these 3 guys take them offensively. And if you think they can't take them all the way, that's fine, and you're free to that opinion. But this is the reality that we live in. The roster does not have a lot of movable parts. This is not the time in the cycle to be reinventing the wheel and trying something completely brand new. Failure is not an option. It's not. This team is built to win now. So, you figure the risk of having some rookie head coach, first job in the NHL, coming to New York City, Madison Square Garden, biggest market in the United States, and it fails spectacularly with a short contention window. Is that worth the risk? In my opinion, it is not. You look at the teams that brought in first-time head coach. Washington brought in Spencer Carbear. He was previously with Toronto as an assistant coach. Anaheim brought in Greg Cronin. These are rookie coaches. Fine. But these are not the teams that are contending for a Stanley Cup. They're probably not really even contending for a playoff spot. So this is not the time of the cycle when you're the Rangers to do something like that. They did something like that with David Quinn. And that made a lot of sense at that time. It doesn't make sense now. So to bring in a Chris Knobloch, who's never coached really at the NHL level, and expect the Zibanejads of the world and the Panarins of the world to all of a sudden change the way they play, I think that's just a fantasy. Drury was always going to bring in someone with cachet, someone with previous success to get these guys to listen. I don't think it was ever going to be some young whippersnapper, to quote the old folks, who wants to try some new way of playing hockey. That thought process is grounded in the idea that this is a team of kids. It's not. Yes, young players are on this roster, but they're secondary. Offensively, it's 10, it's 93, and it's 20. And they are all over 30. You do not have the runway that you think you do. Comments? People disappointed in the Laviolette hire need to give their heads a shake and look at his track record. And look, he is the 8th winningest coach in NHL history, right? So I am not wearing a sign hat. It is just actually I have this hat in white and navy as well. I love the logo there. Now, Joe Danzo says that Andrew Brunette would have been his choice. He took over for Quenneville, won the President's Trophy, assistant coach with the Devils. The kids excelled. I don't know that the Devils are ever going to let him come here anyway. I don't know. I feel as though if you put Brunette and Laviolette together, like just the resume Laviolette brings, I think outweighs. I think Lavi is a decent coach, but I don't see this as a hire to put the team to break through over the hump. I highly doubt Rangers fans were singing his praises last year with the Caps. Hasn't won a cup since 06. No, but a lot of the if you look at Washington last year, no, a lot of it was injury related. Again, I'm not absolving him from it. But I think that he's the kind of guy that comes in, makes changes, and kind of burns out, right? So, I'm okay with it. Again, and as you mentioned, best option for what they were looking for. Is that a new hat? I've never seen the red. Must have retired the navy blue. Brandon, I had the navy blue. I had it on earlier today. I don't know what I did with it, but it's here. I also have it in white. Knobloch is the hire in 2 years if they don't win the cup, followed by Letter 2.0, or in 3 years if they win the cup the next 2. It's possible. They're going to have to do something with the roster at that point. But as we continue the breakdown here, there was this talk of Mark Messier, and it was some of the most off-the-wall talk I've seen from this fan base. In my opinion, completely and utterly irrational. BlueTruth made a post that went a little viral for the things that we do, which I appreciate that. And I've been told by many people that it was spot on. Others who disagreed said that it was stupid because they wanted Messier, par for the course. But anyway, Mark Messier has never coached a professional hockey team at any level. We have no idea if Mark Messier can coach a hockey team at the professional level. The ability to play this sport is not the ability to coach. He was one of the all-time great players the sport has ever seen, and that's all well and good, especially for us, 94. But it doesn't mean that he can be an effective coach. In fact, some of the best coaches the league has seen are players who flamed out or never even got a sniff in the pros. I don't think it's logical to just say, well, he played well, so he must be able to coach the game well. Prime example, Wayne Gretzky. Best player of all time. Terrible coach. Good player, though, just not a good coach, right? And these people that, were all about bringing in Mark Messier, right? So in my, I guess, amateur, semi-professional, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, in my opinion, they didn't really want Mark Messier. As much as they wanted the idea of a Mark Messier leader type just whipping these guys into shape because they have an axe to grind against the Panarins and Zibanejads of the world, making them something that they're not and flipping some magic switch, right? Because I guess Panarin's going to become a grinder if Mark Messier is behind the bench. Again, when you're a player, you can lead by example, and Mark did that very well. Today is the 29th anniversary of it. We know this. As a coach, he can't go on the ice and battle. It's different. And again, let's be real. This is professional sports, and coaches are hired to be fired. When a team hires a franchise hero to be the team's coach, the most likely scenario is that the coach ruins the legacy of the player. He will never be the same guy he was as a player. Nostalgia is not a valid reason to hire someone. How would we all feel when the inevitable day comes around when head coach Mark Messier is fired? I want you to envision that. Play it in your head. What's it feel like? Is that what you really want? People still to this day are annoyed that Brian Leetch was traded as a pending, unrestricted free agent when the Rangers were selling off in an attempt to rebuild. This fan base would never, and the rock means never, get over God being fired, even if God sucked as a coach. The juice in here, in this one, was just not worth the squeeze. It was never going to happen, and I am convinced that if not for some clickbait people on Twitter, nobody would have even talked about it. This was a figment of someone's imagination, and then it caught wildfire. Derek Jeter should never manage the Yankees. Michael Jordan should never manage the Bulls or coach the Bulls. Tom Brady should never coach the Patriots because it can only make things worse. You do not want to lose the legacy of somebody who is held in such high regard. If Mark Messier wants to go coach somewhere else, go right ahead. I will root for you as long as I don't like as long as I don't hate the team you're coaching. It just can't be here. It just can't be here. That's a big no on Messier. And again, let me be really clear. I love Mark Messier. I love Mark Messier. This is not me being in any way, shape, or form anti-Mark Messier. I would not have wanted him to get this job so that I would have to dislike Coach Mark Messier. Because they're different things. But if Coach Mark Messier fails, your first thought of Mark Messier is Coach Mark Messier failing, not the Messiah. I stand by that. Rangers fan would have wanted Messier if he didn't play for the Rangers. That's true. That's just a cold, hard truth. No coaching experience at all. He did something in like Europe, Noah, but it wasn't anything of note. Yeah. That's Tom, you know. You know my truths. Mark Brown, if you hire him, good luck firing him. Black eye to the organization that happened. Yup. Yeah. Now again, Trottier coached the Rangers, not the Islanders. When you're a franchise legend, keep it. Don't ruin it. Don't affect what you've done. You're always going to be in rarefied air. Don't change that. Thank you, PJ. Love you, bud. Bill Andy, Gretzky was the best of his time. Look what he did coaching. Mess would have been a mess if they hired him. And again, yes, Bill, but again, how do you fire him? How do you tell a fan base that loves the man that you're going to fire him? A fan base that is still not over a trade from almost 20 years ago, which was the right move, by the way, from an asset management standpoint. We can all be mad that, Brian Leetch didn't retire as a Ranger. Okay, I'm not disputing that you shouldn't be mad about that. I'm mad, I guess, that Henrik Lundqvist would have played for the Washington Capitals. But I understood why that had to happen. Igor was ready. Henrik was getting too much money. It doesn't always end with a Cinderella ending. Do you want Henrik Lundqvist to coach the Rangers? No. I don't think so. I just, Kevin, Messi as a coach of the Disney movie plot, not worth tarnishing his New York legacy. Yes. Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and block Peter Williams. Peter Williams is a very disrespectful fellow. Anyway, Joe Rags, the first thing that I think about Laviolette hiring is the pending relationship with Panarin. Gallant never called out Panarin for his turnovers or disappearance in the playoffs. No, I'm not. I'm not. I have many an item in the Ranger basement that is signed by Mark Messier. I love Mark Messier. I just don't want him as my head coach. Okay. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. There you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember, right. Trottier was with the Islanders. If it wasn't, just imagine what that would have been like. Although, again, to be fair, I mean, the Islanders are the Islanders. Nobody who cares about the Islanders, right? Yes, it was the low point of the Dark Ages. And again, PJ says, we're not even over Messier leaving for Vancouver. Listen, Rangers fans hold grudges. People don't forget. But back to Laviolette. Look, this job, to me, was always going to be Laviolette's as soon as they knew for sure that Mike Sullivan was staying in Pittsburgh. I am not at all surprised. Now, the hire is being met with a general meh from the fan base, maybe even some negativity. I think that that's more coming from those who wanted a new face, not a retread, or those who just didn't want Gerard Gallant gone. So it is what it is. And I just want to touch on that for a second too. For the people that are still holding on that think, Gerard Gallant should have stayed, I'd like to know what you base that on. Was it the regular season records? Okay. 100 points in both years. Great. Does that really matter? Like, really? And if you think it does, fine, and I'll disagree with you. But how much of those back-to-back 100-point seasons was Gerard Gallant, and how much of those back-to-back 100-point seasons was Igor Shesterkin? Be fair. Yes, the team got to the conference finals. I guess now it's not last season, 2 years ago. That team was also on death's door repeatedly against very subpar goaltending, not just the Penguins and not just the Hurricanes, but also the Devils this year. If that's not bad coaching, I don't know what it is. If you think it's the players and not the coach, if the players aren't responding to the coaching and you can't fire the players, what are you supposed to do? Any which way you slice it, the result was there needed to be a change. And as we know, Gallant historically doesn't exactly stick around places too long. So I think that we need to just close that door. People will say that maybe Drury was not overly enamored with his options like a Laviolette, and that's why it took so long to make it official. I wouldn't say that that's the case. I think that, again, Drury is meticulous and didn't feel like he had to rush to a decision. So I'm not concerned with that. Well, some are. I'm actually kind of content that he didn't rush to make a decision just to make a decision. So I'm fine with that. Got it. Laviolette's the milquetoast hire, but he'll take him over Waugh and Hines. So, okay. So we're happy. Good. It's okay. People complaining are undereducated hockey fans. They follow the Twitter warts. Kevin says 65% Gallant, 35% players' fault. Well, 100%. GG's out the door. Noah, don't care if Mickey Mouse is your head coach, although he probably would bring some people. Panarin needs more than 2 assists in the playoffs. Yes. No, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not laying the blame at the feet of the coach. What I'm saying is you could be the best coach in the world. If the players are not responding to you, you can't fire the players. Coach has to go. They're not listening to you. So as good as you are, the hell's the difference? Because nobody's listening to you. Nobody's getting anything out of you. So that's, I mean, I feel as though the writing was on the wall. What are the Rangers getting in Laviolette? Well, other than a veteran guy who has won the Stanley Cup and has been in multiple different situations around the league, he is a motivator. He is direct. And he is known as someone who makes in-game adjustments and builds relationships with his players. The chief complaint that many had with Gallant was the lack of in-game adjustments, short of just throwing the lines into a blender. Laviolette won't be that. What we hear is that the players said they wanted more structure in the exit interviews. Laviolette will provide that. as you know, I live here in South Jersey, very much Flyers country. I'm surrounded by troglodytes. But the overwhelming majority of what I hear are that the Rangers got a good one and that I'll be happy. I can tell you I'm telling you, this is Flyers fans did not agree with Laviolette's firing and replacement by Craig Berube at the time. He is held in high regard for what that's worth. Now, Flyers fans can't tie their shoes, so I take it with a grain of salt. But he left a very good impression on them. And as I mentioned, the 8th winningest coach in league history. He is signed for 3 seasons. And I think that should indicate to you how long Chris Drury thinks the window of contention is for this team. It's 2 to 3 years. We've been saying 2 years. People, okay, I'm maybe a little more conservative. I think it's after those 2 or 3 years that the core starts to change. And maybe that's when the people who were clamoring for a Knobloch get their guy as the window closes. I say that because I still come across people that think this team is some young group with all this runway to win something. And I could not possibly disagree more. I think we have these few years and then they go into a roster retool. Kreider will go, Trouba will go, Panarin will go. Zibanejad won't go because he's signed here forever. But Laviolette's a guy that comes in, he gets results quickly, and then kind of flames out. So from the people that think it's a lateral move, that does sound a bit like Gallant. But everybody tells you, Gallant doesn't give the structure. He in that first year, and that's why the first year is usually the better one. The players kind of, they don't make them think too much. But then that dies. And it's happened everywhere he's gone. So, I mean, again, are we surprised that Gallant's not finishing year 3? No. That's who it was. That's what he was. Did we think we have a better result? Maybe. Look, I was not against the hiring, and I was for the firing. So take that for what it's worth. Again, I think the fact that a coach that'll be better at in-game adjustments is going to help this team significantly more than one that just says figure it out yourself. Looking forward to more hands-on coach, run X's and O's, talk in the room. Yes, I agree. Mike Salazzo, Laviolette's our coach. That let it be the first time he's ever coached a team this loaded. That's true. If he can get Michael Leighton to the Cup Finals, here's Igor Shesterkin. So we'll see where that goes. Joe writes, I agree with the Gallant fire, but do you think Kreider had his best years because of him, or was it a coincidence? Well, I think that they kind of figured something out on the power play, and it worked great for Kreider. I think that's, we'll take that and move forward. We'll continue running that offense on the power play, but that was a special teams year, Joe. I mean, if you go back to the goals that he scored, a ton of them, I think like over half were on the power play. Great. Make it work. But they do need to be better 5-on-5. Laviolette teams are generally better at 5-on-5 than the Rangers have been. And I think that we listen, none of this is a surprise, right? We've said last year, the year before, they were a team that relied on their power play and their goaltending. And when one of those two things wasn't there, they weren't going to get anywhere. The Rangers power play was next to nothing in the games that they lost against the Devils, and that is why they lost. The goaltending was not a problem, but the offense dried up because the power play dried up because they're reliant on the power play. They need to be better at 5-on-5. This is nothing new. They got to the conference finals playing it, but now that you need to figure this out. And again, this is all going to be judged by what they do in the playoffs. The regular season doesn't matter. And I stand by that. I'm not going to change my mind on that. You guys, you can have all of these 100-point years, and it's just, I don't care. I do not care about 100-point seasons. I'm not going to hang a banner about a 100-point season because it doesn't matter. Get in. When it gets to the roster, I want to touch on that. Options not exactly plentiful, right? So there's lots of guys with NMCs. They can't move. Not a lot of cap space. As of Cap Friendly, one of my favorite websites on the interwebs, they have about 11.7 million free against the cap that is estimated at $83 million. From last year's team, up front, Alexei Lafreniere is an RFA, while Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko, and Tyler Mott, unrestricted free agents. On the back end, Keandre Miller, RFA, Nico Mikkola, unrestricted. They also need to make a decision as to if they're bringing back Yaroslav Halak to back up Igor or do something else. Again, tight fits. There's no question about that. Based on the way that the roster breaks down from the team that ended the year, and assuming that the RFA stay and everything, nothing crazy happens, they need to get 2 top 6 right wingers to replace Tarasenko and Kane. They need to get a 4th line winger to replace Tyler Mott. They need a 3rd pair lefty D to replace Nico Mikkola and a backup goalie to replace Halak. So first off, the RFAs. I think Lafreniere and Miller are getting bridge deals. Cap's cap. It's going to go up after next year. That's when after this upcoming season, when the escrow is paid back, cap should start rising $4 to $5 million a year. That's going to be great. But they got to get there first. It's anyone's guess as to how much each of these 2 guys are going to get. In the case of Lafreniere, I think that you're looking at a deal that's very similar to what Capo Caco got, but a little bit above. So you're looking at that 2-year bridge somewhere in the vicinity of $3 million-ish, 2.9, 2.8. Don't think it breaks 3 personally. That's kind of where I see Lafreniere. Miller might be more of a problem, and I think that the negotiation will be more difficult because, he had a very productive offensive year last year. Defensemen tend to get paid for that. If you remember, they gave Jacob Trouba an $8 million a year deal for 7 years coming off a 50-point season at age 25, and Miller's doing that now, younger. So, I'm not surprised if he would ask for a long-term deal. I know that the Rangers are in a position to give him a long-term deal, but cap dollars are at a premium and they're in short supply. So their hands might be a little bit tied up in what they can do. I like Noah when he kind of like raps, when he rhymes, dropping hot beats. PJ, Breadman. Kako has to get the right wing spot. We'll talk about that. Brian Fogelstrom, as you said, Lavi provides structure. Plus, our players, most importantly the veterans, should be willing to listen to, learn from him, show respect to him early on. That makes a huge difference. Rookie coach takes time to gain all that. If they gain it at all, that's time we don't have and a risk we can't take. Yes. Exactly why this is a retread or a veteran head coach, which is the nice way of saying retread, or retreads means veteran head coach. It was always going down this road. Charlie wants to trade Miller's rights. No way. They're not doing that. If you do that, Lindgren comes up at the end of next year. You have nobody. Again, put yourself in a situation. They're trying to win now. If they can give Miller a bridge, again, a bridge to the future. Give him a 2 to 3 year bridge, and all of a sudden, when the cap starts going up and money comes off the books, you can give him more. You have to work with what you have. As far as the roster goes, with who might not be here next year that is under contract, I know the comments came up. I think it's highly likely that the Rangers move on from Barclay Goodrow. Excuse me. There's a modified no trade clause, 4 years left at 3.6. That, my friends, is just too much money for what he does. It's not that he isn't effective. He is at what he does. But what he does is not worth paying $3.6 million a year for. I said it at the time the deal was made. I felt it was a knee-jerk reactionary move at the time and too rich of a contract. I think that time has proven that to be true. They may have to sweeten a trade, but I think that they will likely get out of it. That would then raise your cap to about $15.4 million that's open. I think he was brought in for a reason. I think they overpaid for that reason. And while they may want to try to bring, the thing is, they really are trying to get a little grittier and get players like Barclay Goodrow, but it just can't be at that price tag. So I do think more likely than not, he's going to be on the way out. Again, if you're watching the show, thank you so much. Give us a like on the show. We get to break the Facebook algos. A lot of you already have. So thank you for that. And thank you in advance for those who will hit the like or the heart on the broadcast here. Regarding the UFAs, I think there is absolutely zero shot that Tarasenko comes back. And I love Tarasenko, and I hate to say that, but money's money. They just can't fit him. He will go get a deal somewhere. Thanks for the time. I think there's some shot Tyler Mott comes back. I think pending his price. I think he was happy to be here. I think he wants to stay, and I think he'll take less money to stay. I would not be surprised if he stays. And I really, really feel that Patrick Kane is going to want to come back. And I think that what's going to be on the table is a 1-year deal, maybe 2. And he's got this 4 to 6 month recovery time coming. So he's an LTIR candidate. His market, given his situation, is going to be rather shallow. And he likely is going to want to bet on himself. He wants to play. I think he wants to stay here. I think he wants to stay, recuperate, be on LTIR for a while, the same way that Nikita Kucherov was for the Cup champion Lightning and Mark Stone just was for the Cup champion Golden Knights. And while we're on this topic, and again, I know there's going to be people that are like, Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane was the 3rd highest scorer on the team in the playoffs. Just saying. While we're on the topic, though, hold on, I got some comments coming in. Noah Dialer, he's effective, too expensive for his role, referring to Goodrow. Yes. Rock from 2 Guys, 1 Cup. Guys, listen, I say this all the time. Ranger content. We all love Ranger content. I'm not the only one that, gets on camera and talks about it. John and Sean do a wonderful job on 2 Guys, 1 Cup. Jim and I do a great job. Blue Shirt Underground. You are doing yourself a massive disservice if you are not checking out other content for the team that we love. So I just give them a little plug. Love those guys. They do wonderful. It's great content. I enjoy watching it, so I assume you will as well. Give those guys a shot. Nathan, yes, I did talk about Tarasenko. It's not gonna. But Nathan, the Kane money doesn't buy Tarasenko. The Kane money might be half of Tarasenko or less. So, Noah, reading my mind, yes. The way it kind of happened, it's kind of like one of those things, Noah, when I tell people, I'm not really upset that Lafreniere hasn't broken out yet because we can get a better contract. So, yeah, the way it kind of happened here, look, Kane came here. He liked it here. He doesn't seem like somebody who wants to move around a lot. So I think he's going to want to stay because the market's not going to be there for a guy who's going to be out 4 to 6 months with a hip problem. I would actually put it at about 60-40 that he's back in some way. But while we are on the topic of the Knights, when you look at the moves that the Knights made, the trading away of youth and picks and the acquisition of their late 20s vets with huge cap hit deals, which, to be fair, I'm going to bring it up. There is no state tax in Nevada. There's a hard cap in the NHL. It was an advantage for them. I'm not getting off that point. But anyway, their ultra aggressive nature and how they went about building this team, that would definitely not have gone well in Rangerland, because of all this talk that people still have of trading Lafreniere and Kakko, which I disagree with generally. Those talks are fire sale moves for the sake of making a move versus using the assets to help the team now. If a player like a Clayton Keller became available, I'm not going to bat an eye of making a trade with one of them or even both of them. If it cost me Lafreniere and Kakko, so be it. I'm getting Clayton Keller. The difference is the prevailing thought among people is they want to get rid of these 2 guys is trade them for what you can because they're busts. That is illogical and frankly stupid. Never get it, never will, but I'm fine trading for value. Absolutely. If it makes sense. Remember, window's short. But while I have comments coming in here. Cyrus says Vegas is an option for Kane. Yeah, but I don't know that. I just get the feeling that he's going to want to stay where he kind of, not that he like wants to make up for it. I'm not necessarily saying that, but he enjoyed his time here. Original six franchise. There's something to it. There's something to it. Vegas fans couldn't have cared less the Knights won the Cup, but the Rangers fans didn't want to give up Nils Lundqvist for Jack Eichel. I know. Look, Ranger. This is when the Ranger fans get prospects, they hold on to them. They never want to let them go unless they play 5 games and stink. Then give them away for magic beans. I'm not going to bring up the stadium tonight because I think that there's still too much to be decided there. I'm of the belief that they're not going to move a $1 billion building. So I think a lot of this is political mumbo jumbo. I don't really care. I think they're going to be just fine. They'll figure it out. But it's not a really good use of taxpayer money to buy out the Garden and make them move it. So my official position currently is nothing's going to happen. We'll see if I'm proven right. Charlie, if Kane comes back 100%, he's worth keeping on a 1 to 2 year deal. Even if he's 80%, knows what it takes to hoist the cup, and that is invaluable. Yes. For a team that doesn't have a lot, again, if you're getting good to Barclay Goodrow, you don't really have a lot of cup winning experience. I think nobody at that point, right? So there's value to that for sure. You don't get their production, their price point on the UFA market. I agree. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing, right? So you look at Lafreniere's 40-ish points. Kakko, sub $3 million. Go find it. It's irrational. Todd O'Neill said that. Fan base is irrational. Absolutely. Kane coming off LTIR in February is like a trade day rental without giving up assets. Yes. Everybody else is doing it. Why aren't we doing it? I also think that there is a strong likelihood that barring a trade, at least to start the year, all 3 of the kids find their way into the top 6. I think they just kind of have to. I think what will end up happening is, barring something crazy, Kakko and Lafreniere will fill their right wings, and Hedl moves up to second line center. Some possibility Hedl could move up to a wing spot if Laffy doesn't adjust to the right side. I would not rule out Panarin going to the right side, but I do think that's less likely. Somebody from the left side's got to go to the right, or they got to go for someone to go on the right side. It is that simple. Square peg, round hole, basic stuff. You got 3 left wings and 1 right wing. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that you got to move somebody from here, either move them there or move them out to fill the spot. Very simple. The trade would be Lafreniere. Do I want to trade Lafreniere? No. But I'm also realistic. They have a window here. Hedl, again, either he becomes second line center or becomes a winger because Trocheck stays there. So either way, they have to improve their top 6. Point blank. When we did the season preview coming into the 2022-23 season, we said that the Rangers were sacrificing their top 2 lines to keep their third line, which was the kid line, together. And that's exactly what happened. They are not going to do that again this year. No shot. Laviolette is known as a coach who wants young players to earn the ice time and nothing is given. And I am fine with that. But I also don't think there's going to be much of a choice. Too much talent in your third line to not find a spot. They have to figure that out. For the defensive opening, I think it's probably going to come down to Zach Jones and Ben Harper. And again, barring an external candidate, which again, cap's tough. They could also give a look to Matthew Robinson, the 2019 second-round pick. He's 6'4", 201. He's got that size profile of what Mikkola was, for what that's worth. I'd like to see him get a look. I've said this before. I don't know that Zach Jones is going to be here long term. I think he would have gotten the job by now. And if they want to have somebody with a little bit more size, like a Harper, for example, that's not Zach Jones. So Zach Jones could be a trade target in the offseason. I think he's a nice player. I just think he's repetitive. I think he's, again, smaller-ish, offensive type guy, not that stout defensively, and I think that they have enough of those guys on the team. I think they need that bigger body, which is why Robertson's very interesting. I'd like to see him get a shot. You have Trocheck on the third line with that contract. That's not a good deal. Well, it's 5-something. Yes, I agree. But Hedl is going to outperform his 4.4, so average it out. And I just want to be clear on that. Trocheck has a no movement clause that expires after year 3, which is 2 years from now. Oh, look, it's the end of your window. Get the hell out. That's probably going to happen. Mike Firestone, get rid of Miller, useless. Okay. Get rid of Miller, useless. Rangers stats 2022, 2023. Okay. CBS Sports has these statistics, and if I sort by points, Keandre Miller had 43 points, which was 2 less than Filipino and 3 more than Capo Caco. So again, I have no idea why people are like, oh, he's useless. Okay, replace the 45 points. Bring up the rookies, Mike. This is not the Rangers are not in development mode. The Rangers are trying to win a Stanley Cup now. This is not letter. This is not, we're gonna, bring the kids up, let them play. That's over. I got 2 years here, maybe 3, to try to win something now. It is not about bringing up the rookies. Again, I don't see it. Send Trocheck back to the Canes. No movement clause. They might not even want him. Yes, they traded. Look, I was having this conversation with somebody recently. The 94 Rangers lost a bunch of trades and won a Stanley Cup. I don't think those trades were wins just because they won a Stanley Cup. They gave up a lot of value. If it didn't work, boy, that looks really terrible in retrospect, but it did, so nobody cares. So you can lose transactions, you can lose trades. If it ends up winning, that's fine. You'll do that all the time. You'll do that all the time. Panarin left. See, but again, but Mark, here's the problem. Without even looking at the right winger on that third line, you've got $12 million on your third line, plus the winger. It's just not economical. Can't do it. Can't do it. I'm fine with Trocheck on the third line, but Kreider can't be there. It can't. And again, if you Trocheck third line, you mean third center. I got it. No, you're fine. If you still have Panarin, Lafreniere, and Kreider on the left, Kakko's on the right, who else is playing? It's 3, 2, 1. It's imbalanced. You got to fix that. I would trade Miller for a right wing. Lindgren will need a deal. Yeah, but then who's your second defenseman? Who's your 43 point? Who's your 40 point producing second pair left defenseman? Yeah, let's just have fun. If you had fun, you won. We don't need championships. I know. Rock, this team is super flawed and in cap hell. All right. Get fired up. I don't again, I'm not I'm not disagreeing with you. Team can win. Team can win. Robert Simpson, we need grit, not names for people to buy jerseys. Yeah, I agree. I'm getting to some of that. I have a couple names. I have one name you're not going to like. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Anthony Hermosa, Miller's a good offensive defenseman, liability defensively in big games. You do have Igor Shesterkin, so you take the good with the bad. John, win now time. Yep. But you don't need to give these players away. The players are still good for the money. You are not going to get better production dollar for dollar than those 3 guys for what you're going to replace them with. I know, and there's a comment that just came in too. I just saw it. Joe Rags, will Cooley make the team next year? I know a lot of people are like clamoring and looking for Othman and Cooley to make the jump. I'm a little cautious there, right? So I think that they shouldn't be given anything. I don't think Laviolette will give it to them, but I think if they earn it, fine. I just don't think they should be bestowed these roles. The irony of the people that are so, 6 to midnight over Othman and Cooley they're probably the same people that want to dump Kakko and Lafreniere, who were given the roles from the jump and not really positioned for success. And now they can't wait to just dump these other two guys in the same exact spot. Sure. Again, earn it, fine. Don't just bring them up because you brought them up. Okay, let's be fair. Laffy and Kakko, 1 and 2 picks, they get brought up. They sell jerseys. I get it. I'm not saying it was the right thing. Look, Owen Power went back to school. Like, 1 picks doesn't mean that they just show up. I think Mark Brown's reading my mind. Again, let him earn it. As far as free agents go, it would not surprise me at all if the Rangers go after Jesper Fast. Former Ranger, as you know, people were not happy to see him go. And he is a free agent after 3 years in Carolina. That's a quick mock-up of what he looks like in a Ranger jersey. He complemented Panarin very well when they played together. And he's a right wing. The Rangers do need right wings. Again, square peg, square hole. It works. If the price is right, I really do think that Jesper Fast is going to be a priority free agent target for them. I think he solves a lot of problems. He adds a little bit more snarl. He's not the pretty type player. They got enough of those. He will go into the dirty areas. So I think that that's a very strong possibility. And I give you a name. I'll give you a name to consider. Do not, I repeat, do not be surprised if the Rangers make an aggressive move to trade for Tom Wilson in Washington. I listened to the Cam and Strick podcast when Lavi was on, and he was extremely complimentary of Wilson's game. He's 29, 1 year left, $5.1 million, and then he's UFA, and he's a right wing. He checks off a lot of the boxes for what many people believe the Rangers are missing. That power forward physical winger. I am not making a prediction per se. I am just drawing some connecting lines and certainly would not rule it out. I know it's like it's like the Red Sox bringing in Jeter. It's not really, I hate Boston. But anyway, I get it. Persona non grata. If he was here, you would love him. So, again, I'm just drawing some lines. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Don't send me your hate mail. Don't say, oh, you got it wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm saying just don't be surprised. I think that the pieces would fit. And if they're going to be aggressive and make some waves, that is an aggressive wave-making type of thing. Absolutely. PJ. I've come to the realization that this core group will probably not win a cup. Year after year, I watch teams built with North American players, 6'3", 215, that out-muscle, out-hustle, and outwork everyone win the cup. Rangers aren't built like that. Well, again, I think you need an element of that. An element of that. I don't think you need all of it. I do think talent is important. Quickie will fit in well in this team. Yes. Agreed. Amity with Drury for the yeah. Craig, I think Craig liked my idea. Yeah. Yeah, but again, right? Like Sean Avery. Sean Avery was a guy you hated on the other team, but you loved him when he was yours. Again, like Noah's just said. They're professionals. They'll let bygones be bygones, because when he sees Tom Wilson do something like that to somebody else, for his team, thumbs up, we're good. So I think that that's doable. I think, again, they're professionals. They'll figure it out. Andrew says, Kreider 1 year away from modified no movement clause kicking in. Sweet to get him moved a year early. I think if anybody with the big contract is going to get moved, it's going to be Trouba. I don't think it's going to be Kreider. I think Chris Kreider retires here. I really do. I wasn't on that. I just think he's going to get his number retired at this point. I think it'd be a very unpopular trade. I'm not ruling it out, Andrew, but my gut tells me that they don't do it. And again, historically, the Rangers have no trouble trading their captains. So usually getting the C is a pretense to you getting traded, right? So, we'll see. We'll see on that front. The Rangers are also picking 23rd overall in the 2023 NHL Draft, which is 2 weeks from today in Nashville. I am on record that I think the best option with that pick is to send it somewhere else to help you fill holes on the roster now. Nobody they draft in the next 2 weeks is going to make this team in the next 2 years. And I think that they need to be laser focused, Dr. Evil, laser focused on the next 2 years. I'm a broken record. The window is not long, right? So I'm not even going to attempt to get into a mock draft. Just not going to do it. I am very interested to see if they have something in the works between now and draft night, potentially involving that pick. And I think the people who feel the Rangers will move young players for picks are just not paying attention. There is a 0% chance that the Rangers are moving Lafreniere for a draft pick. Kakko for a draft pick. We are not in the part of the cycle where we're worried about draft picks. Like, I argue with people all the time, like, the hell is a draft pick going to do for this team when your 3 top forwards are 30 plus? So you're going to bring them coffee? Realistically, why? Why would you do that? Well, they focus on a guy they don't like. They want to move him away. Draft picks. Yeah. Not now. It ain't going to happen now. Not in this part of the cycle, guys. So I'd be, again, I'm sure that the Sports Box parent network of BlueTruth is going to do something with the first round of the draft. So I will be promoting that when we schedule it. Hope to see you guys there. But I'd be lying if I said I wanted them to make this pick. I think this pick is on a completely different time trajectory than I am with the way the team is right. So as we wrap up the show tonight, again, thank you all for your comments, your questions. Actually, let me read some of those while I'm on the topic here. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Robert Simpson. I equate this to my son playing soccer. He's 7 and can dribble through everyone. At some point, size and power take over, hence the playoffs. You need to be able to adjust that style, and we never do. Well, they did get to the conference finals a year ago, so they do. Just maybe not as much as you would like. So again, they do make some issues there. So Jay's talking about Jack Drury. Okay, it took me 2 seconds, but I figured it out. So Fast, Mott, and Drury for the new 4th line, potentially. Donald Brashear was signed 2 months after taking out Blair Betts. Sure. Again, gel together. Kumbaya. We're going to go fight somebody else together. Joe Rags, do you think Goodrow is tradable because that contract's not too attractive? I have read the Rangers would have to give up pick to move him. Would you do it to create cap space? Yes, yes, and yes. I am not worried about a 2026 second-round pick. I don't care. We could all be dead by then. I'm not worried about that. So, yeah, no, I think you have to. I think that the way it's happening, too much money for the player, for what he does. I like the player. I wish he was $1 million cheaper, but he's not, and you can't fix it now. So I do think that that's the primary way they're going to create some cap space is getting rid of Barclay Goodrow. Somewhere, somehow. Pick must be traded. Don't disagree. Or the prospect they pick must be traded. I'd love Wilson. He's a huge prick on a team to be lacking in that department. Again, I think Wilson, I think his best years were under Laviolette, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say that they are. I don't know that, but I think that they were. So he might be, again, he's a pending UFA. The Caps are going to rebuild. Again, I don't know what it would take. I don't know if it's a first-round pick. Maybe that's something I would do. Look, if Washington would retain half that money, I'd be very interested. Like that's some consequential type stuff. I really think that would be something that is I'd get very excited about that. You get me Wilson at like 2.55, I think is the number for a year with this roster, with the cap problems that we have. Oh yeah. I'm in. Nathan, I think at 2 tops, probably less. I think he's talking about the potential Goodrow deal. Cap space. Yep. Not with yeah, and that's another thing too. Everybody's like, "Oh, Rangers need to pick." You don't draft well at all, at all. PJ still wants me to go get killed up at Borelli's, or to get punched in the face probably by a bunch of I shouldn't say bunch of about 12 angry Islanders fans who are all at Borelli's. I gotta figure something out. I would like to do something, and we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Anthony, Rangers were sellers not too long ago, just 4 points out of a playoff spot. I understand what good is a 23rd pick, but this team might be sellers if they don't get it done very soon. Right. No, I agree. Get there first. I'm not. You ever see the movie Day After Tomorrow? Like the world's going to end, so you don't think about it? 2-3 years, like this is all getting blown up again. Minus Fox and Igor. It's all getting blown up again. So, like, I don't care. Like you go all in. Go all in. Don't worry about 3-4 years, 5 years from now. Figure it out then. Because guess what? Drury ain't going to be here. Neither will Laviolette. You don't have this team. You have to take your shot while you have it. Yes, clowns. Yes. Clowns. A lot of clowns, but funny clowns. I know that Velasco Willington is a very vocal critic of Artemi Panarin. We've interacted a little bit. Point per game player, regular season kids can make up his points with added ice time. No, they cannot. No, they can't. He scored 92 points last year. Like, come on, be real. Like, look, you don't like the player, that's fine. I'm not gonna tell you gotta like the player, but don't tell me he's not. It's 92 points. It's a 100-point player basically. Don't grow on trees, right? Yeah. Were the playoffs a problem? Yeah. How much? But come on. But how much of that was the coaching and not putting any systems in place to help your players? Again, I look. Fool me 3 times, whatever. No, it doesn't. I no. Each of them is not going to get 30 points more than they got last year. And that's what it would take. Filipino is not going to score 75 points. Kakko is not going to score 70 points. And Lafreniere is not going to score 70 points. Not going to happen. 3 guys scored 70 points last year on this team. Panarin, Zibanejad, and Fox. So no, I think that's a pipe dream. And I also don't think that it makes any sense for a team with a short window is going to be sitting, let's just play the kids more. We're rebuilding. Yeah. Doesn't matter. That's what he's making. I get. So, Velasco. Artemi Panarin sucks. He's making $12 million. Why does Anaheim want him? What's in it for them? Why do they do that? Let me ask you a question. If Artemi Panarin was a free agent, do you think Anaheim would sign him for $11.7 million? Because even if you gave him for free, so what? Okay, I'm Anaheim. Convince me. I'm going to give you the floor. Convince me. I'm the Anaheim Ducks. You have Artemi Panarin. Why do I want Artemi Panarin? And also, if I'm Artemi Panarin, why the hell do I want to go to Anaheim? Why? Why do I want to go not make the playoffs somewhere? Why would I do that? There is a reason that... Okay. So he's going to go play where nobody cares because he goes plays with his buddy? Not buying it. Not buying it. That's just not realistic. We have to live in reality here. If you're telling me that Anaheim wouldn't sign him for 11.7, why are they going to trade for him? Why is he going to agree to it? Again, I just don't. For what? That's it. It's again, we need to live within what is realistic. Panarin's not waving. Panarin's here because he wants to be. I'm not missing anything. No, I'm not missing a thing. You don't like the player and don't like what he makes. So you think that some team with some guy that he liked to play with 3 years ago, or whenever it was, then he doesn't. You're in a contract. You are in a contract. Again, why do you think I'm specifically talking about the idea that this team has a 2 to 3 year window? Because when these contracts are up, they're dead. They have nobody. When Kryer's gone and Panarin is gone, they do not have the infrastructure to replace their production. They don't. You have to strike while the iron is hot. We cannot wait for ifs and maybes to happen 3 to 4 years from now. This team is going into retool 3 to 4 years from now. They're trying to win now. You do not trade 92-point players when you're trying to win now. You don't. And again, I'm still waiting for what is in it for Anaheim. Drew DeFilippis, who I talk to all the time. You guys are nuts. I don't see where they have to go all in the next 2 to 3 years. A fan base centered around stars. Got plenty of talent here and coming up. This team needs grit. Plenty of talent coming up? Who? Brendan Othmann? Brendan Othmann was 20 years old playing in that tournament, right? So let's not like crown him the next goal scorer, right? Maybe he is and maybe he's not. But the Rangers have not shown any sort of ability to even nurture and grow young players. They can't develop guys. So again, you are just hoping and praying. You are literally trying to sacrifice your window for hopes and dreams so they can get crushed later so you can be like, oh, I didn't like the guy anyway. Like, this is not real. We are not living in reality at this point. The guy had a bad playoff run, so you just want to just get rid of him. Yeah, let's is no movement clause. We'll figure that out. Oh, you want this team's going to take him off your hands. They're going to pay him $12 million and just take him off your hands. Yeah, sure. No. Again, it's not real. And again, I don't know what we're talking about. The funny thing about that, Tom, he's right behind me in that wall, but he sleeps through anything. He sleeps through anything. Hi, vey, guys. Again, you just McDavid. Look, he's not going anywhere. Again, but like, I Rock, I love you, I do, but we gotta. I just feel as though we need to stay within the realm of reality, right? So I can tell you, I could be mad right now, and I am, that they didn't get Jack Eichel, because if they got Jack Eichel, they wouldn't have paid Zibanejad, but now they got Zibanejad, right? So like, if I were to give you a trade scenario with Mika Zibanejad, your first response is, well, no, who's taking Mika Zibanejad for 6 more years at that number? Why is Mika moving? There's no movement clause. He's not. There's a reason these things get negotiated in contracts. It's not going to happen. Anyway, sorry, I got a little. I didn't mean to blow up on Velasco, but I've seen this. Like, everyone's like, oh, trade this guy. Yeah, sure. Yeah, some other team. Yeah, that's sure. They'll just take your guy off your hands. Yeah, here you go. We're here to help you. We're not really in business for ourselves to try to win or anything. You know, we're a rebuilding team. We're not going to make the playoff for 3-4 years, but we're going to take your $12 million a year winger out of the goodness of our hearts, who, by the way, has to approve it, which he's not going to do because he wanted to come to you specifically. Oh, by the way, when you take 92 points off this team, they're like the 25th best offensive team in the league. They were average last year. Dropping points with no actual plan to replace them. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, we're going to Vladimir Tarasenko, who was really not that great last year, had a couple good games, and I like Tarasenko. Tarasenko's also 31. So you're going to give him, first of all, while we're on that topic, Panarin has 3 more years at 11.6. Do you think that Tarasenko was going to sign a 3-year deal? No. Tarasenko is going to sign a 5 to 6 year deal. So then you're now extending the cap, right? If you believe that your window is going to last 3 years, now you're borrowing from year 4, 5, and 6 and committing money there. It's not going to happen. Again, Velasco, you've decided you don't like Artemi Panarin, and that's fine. Not at 11 points. Okay. Again, like it is not a real, it is so unrealistic that I've probably given it like 3 minutes too long in addressing why it's unrealistic. What don't I get? Why does Anaheim want Panarin? Why does Anaheim want the player that you believe is a problem? Well, because they're nice. Or they're just oh, look, they are cordial people. They will take your problems on. Can they take Trouba too? You know what? We'll give you Panarin and Trouba. 2-for-1 deal. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. NHL 23. What is that? Does Panarin make the playoffs? Okay. So Panarin's going to go there and help them make the playoffs, but he's not going to perform in the playoffs. So what's the point? So were they just trying to sell tickets? It's nonsense. I'm not even sitting here defending Panarin. Like again, that's a problem, right? I'm agreeing with you. It's a problem. I'm thinking it's a problem from the coaching staff, frankly. I don't like Panarin had a decent playoffs last year. Not great, not level Panarin, but okay. Where are the people that are? Why aren't we bashing Mika Zibanejad's 5 points in the playoffs or the 4 points that he had? Why is he not getting attacked for that? Because we just decided that it's Panarin's problem. The people that want to bash Kane, Mika's fine. Kane was the problem though. Velasco, I hate to break this to you. In 3 years, the team is going to deconstruct. They're going to deconstruct. Mika had 4 points. Panarin had 2. Is Mika fine? Don't get it. Panarin would love to move to Florida for the tax-free money. Well, I do like the state tax argument's very real. Yes, I am a big person on that. Okay. All right. I'm done. It's just, yeah, I know. It's just, yeah, sure. Yeah. What it actually is law. It's contracts that you're not getting. It's A, contract, and B, you think the other team's just going to help you out out of the goodness of their heart. Nonsense. Yeah. I'll do that. What's Stone's deal? But Stone's the captain, so that's not gonna. Mac who? Who? What Mac? Mac what? McDonough? I don't think McDonough had a no trade clause, but even if he did, he waived it because the Rangers were going into rebuild. The Rangers were going into rebuild. He was being sent to a cup contender. I don't even think McDonough had a no trade clause at that time, because that was again, they didn't sign him. Tampa. They told him that they were going to send it. They were going to cut him. He'd be out of the deal. Well, what? Okay. Yeah. So basically, they said we're going to put you on waivers, which they can do. And you're going to get snapped up by Columbus, right? So either you're going to take this trade to Nashville or you're going to Columbus. By the way, Ryan McDonough, not a superstar anymore. All right. Done. I'm moving on. Anyway. All right. So as we wrap up tonight, again, the 29th anniversary of the 94 Cup with yet another new face behind the bench, I think we're embarking on what is certainly a very important summer for Drury and this team. And I think that we all need to be on the same wavelength as realizing the following. They are too good to miss the playoffs. Igor's too good for them to miss the playoffs. So I am not concerned at all with October to April. Doesn't matter. They're going to get in. This team and this coach will be judged on April to June. And I really feel as though they don't have as much time as we all like to think they do, especially Drew, who thinks that we're on this, 10-year contention plan with 30-year-olds. I don't really understand how that works. Talk about basic math, right? Anyway, BlueTruth has you covered. Any breaking news, I'll get you on that. Make sure you're following Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube thank you all. Even though I argue with some of you, I'm very appreciative that you're watching and interacting. So please don't take that as a negative, and continue to come back. If something happens like majorly, we'll probably have an emergency show, as we're known to do from time to time. But if not, we'll probably look at the and I don't know if we're going to do a pre-draft, because again, I'm really hoping they trade the pick. So if we do a Sports Box draft show, I will make sure that you are all aware of it. Couple of comments coming in. No. So the purpose of a no movement clause is they can't be moved to the American Hockey League, and due to what the Rangers did with Wade Redden, there's no cap benefit. It's like $900,000. They can't do that. Joe, thank you. I get a little fired up sometimes when we start leaving the realm of like reality and start like this fantasy nonsense. I can't because it's strange hypotheticals. John, thank you. Always fun. Brendan, new name. Good night to you as well. So again, thank you all for joining the show tonight as we celebrate 29 years. And I sure hope that a year from now we have something better to talk about, because God, if we're doing 30 again, that means I'm getting old. That means you're also getting old. So anyway, on behalf of the show, thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you soon. Take care.